Hi, welcome to my channel. I'm going to be using a stamp from Blue Knight Rubber Stamps called the Little Country Church. Just wanted to let you know that there is a sale going on over at Blue Knight Rubber Stamp, 20% off all stamps, and that is till December 13th. And I have the information listed in my description box below. This is what the stamp looks like. It comes on a laminated card that you can use for storage. I'm also going to be using the cloud stencil. I have some blue ink by Wendy Vecchi. It's called Cornflower, and I'm using this for my clouds. This is going to be a winter scene, so I tried to pick a color that reminds me of the winter clouds. We live in the mountains of western Pennsylvania, so we have some pretty bad winters here with lots of snow. And during January, it can be pretty dark out. There's days that we don't even see the sun. I mean, it's daylight, but you don't really see the sun shining through the clouds. So I was looking for that gray color of clouds, but this is actually like a blue gray, I think. So I'm just looking at where I'm going to be stamping my stamp, making sure that I have the clouds in the right place. I'm going to be using my Tim Holtz stamping platform. I put a little bit of low-tack tape. The tape just helps keep my paper in place while I'm stamping. I'm going to grab a piece of acetate. The acetate helps me line up my stamp just to make sure that it's not crooked or tilted in the wrong direction. This is an easy way for you to make sure your stamp is lined up straight. I'm using Catherine Puller Midnight ink, and I'm using the Blue Knight Rubber stamp holder. The stamp holder is a magnetic wood block, and then you have a magnetic piece of metal that you put onto the back of your stamp pad, and the two are magnetic together so you can hold your stamp pad. You have a better grip on it. Now that I have my background clouds stenciled in and my image stamped with the archival ink, I also did dry this with my heat gun just to make sure that everything was nice and dry before I start watercoloring. So I have some Corinne markers, and I'm going to be using the black and some water to make gray, and I'm going to paint the roof of the little church with gray so that it looks like slate roof. And these markers are water-based, and they're very vibrant. I am actually going to color directly onto the image with some of these markers in a few minutes here, but I just wanted to show you with the watercoloring. I have a piece of laminated graph paper. I'm using that just as a palette, something that I could use that's waterproof to mix my colors. I'm going to speed this up a little bit for the sake of time. Just following what the artist created. That's what's really nice about these stamps from Blue Knight Rubber Stamps. You can just shade where you see the artist has put the lines, and it comes out very nice. And there's a couple other spots that I'm using I have a really fine tipped paintbrush. It's almost a point, and it works really well for getting all the little areas because the church appears to be having a lot of wood fixtures. So the steeple is wood, the rafters, the little window panes, and then I'm actually shading the church facade in a light gray, thinking that my sun is coming in from the left, so the darker area would be on the right. And then I'm going to go ahead and color this little roof that's over the door with this watercolor. And there's also like a little building attached that I'm going to color in with gray. Just a lot of little details. You have to take your time and get those colored in. And then there's a little stone path that's so cute. And I also am watercoloring the little stone path with this gray color. I'm not applying any extra color I'm just using my brush with a lighter color to do the little steps that lead up to the church. Going over those window panes again. There's a little fence in the background. This is a really detailed stamp, but it's not a hard one to color. And I'm just going and shading that fence with that light gray because at this point my brush doesn't have a lot of dark gray on it, just a light gray. This technique that I'm going to use today requires the entire image to be covered with double-sided sticky tape, and it's covered then with glitter to make it appear like snow. So that's why these Korean markers are so awesome, because they're so vibrant. Even covering it with the clear double-sided tape and the glitter, the colors still come through. I'm just coloring the stained glass window above the door of the church. And I'm just making it a rainbow color using all of these extremely fantastic markers. These were a gift to me from my friend Nancy Stamps, and I do enjoy working with them. Thank you, Nancy. And this stained glass window, it has, the light shining through it as well, so that's blue. And then I'm going to use yellow for the windows to show that there's light inside the church. Then my camera shut off. So fast forwarding to the part where I took the double-sided adhesive, rolled it out, and laid my card on top. And then cut it and peeled it, trimmed it to the size of my card. As you can see, it's trimmed and ready to apply the glitter. I'm going to use a die tool just to get the adhesive to come off. And then I have this Martha Stewart glitter that is sort of ivory color, but it has a lot of holographic, translucent sparkles and shimmers to it. I think it makes a really pretty snow background. So you can see my coloring. I did not color the grass because I want this to be snow. And the tree I just colored in the lightest of yellow. I used a little bit of yellow and I watered it down just to give it some definition so that you can see that it's actually a tree. And there you have it. The sparkle is pretty clear. Even on camera, you can see how sparkly that is. I have some of the adhesive from my double-sided tape. You could use that to rub, or you could just grab a big piece of paper and just rub that glitter into that double-sided tape. This is going to help this stick, and it's going to help it so that when your person that you send it to opens it, that the glitter doesn't fall off. I'm really pressing on it, trying to get as much of that glitter to stick, and it sticks pretty well. You don't have to worry about there being a big mess. Because my camera shut off, I'm going to show you another card that I made using this stamp. And I basically just did a one-tone stamping. I used this is the finished card, by the way. I used my stamp platform again. I've got my double-sided adhesive, and I have some ivory paper. So I'm going to line up my stamp and stamp it with vintage photo because I'm going for sepia look so that it looks like an old photograph. And Distress Ink Vintage Photo, I think, does a really good job with that. I'm going to use a piece of acetate just to line everything up, make sure that my church is even and not crooked. And stamping it with some archival ink so I can get a better handle on where I'm stamping at. That actually looks pretty good. I'm happy with the way that looks. So I'm going to go ahead and just wipe it off because it had that archival ink, and I really want it to be brown. Using the Distress ink in Vintage Photo, I'll go ahead and stamp that onto that ivory cardstock. I have to stamp it more than once because my Vintage Photo stamp pad might not be very juicy. It's pretty old. So that's pretty right there, just on the ivory cardstock with the brown ink. I think that's really pretty. But I'm going to go ahead and show you how to apply this to the double-sided tape. So you want to roll your double-sided tape out. This would be the, I think 5-inch double-sided tape. And then go ahead and line up the bottom of your card with the bottom of the double-sided adhesive and press firmly. Okay, now you have it stuck to your card panel. Now you want to take a pair of scissors. I use my Teflon scissors from Tim Holtz because they are anti-stick, because this double-sided this double-sided tape is extremely sticky, and you want to be able to use a pair of scissors where the adhesive doesn't get stuck. And it's even getting stuck on my Teflon, but it's not as bad as my regular scissors. So these do a pretty good job for me when it comes to this part of the process. And then I save that. I might be able to use it to help like adhere the card panel down, this little extra amount. Okay, I'm just rubbing it so that the adhesive is stuck down good, and it's going to be ready now for glitter. Then I'll take my pokey tool and I will peel that layer off. Now we have an extremely sticky card front. You want to make sure that you don't get this stuck on your card base or a piece of paper, because once it's stuck, it's stuck. Just be careful at this point in handling your sticky card base. Now we can put the glitter on. Yeah, this is Martha Stewart Super Fine Glitter. I have a spoon and a little Tupperware box that I use. It's not real Tupperware, it's just a plastic container that I got at the dollar store. But for this job of applying glitter, it works really well using the spoon. Just trying to cover the entire, card base, not missing any spots. And I really like the way this one's looking too. It definitely looks, vintage or distress. Now I'm just going to go ahead and scoop that right over top of that plastic container. If I have any finger marks, I go ahead and cover those up. All right, and then with my paper folded in half, I can easily slide that glitter right back into the plastic container. And I'll go ahead and burnish. That's what this is called when you press really hard on your surface. What I'm trying to do is to get that glitter to seal in and lock in to the sticky double-sided tape. And there you have it. I think it looks fantastic. I mean, that's a perfect Christmas card right there. You just need to put a sentiment on it and send it on its way. Anybody would love something like that for Christmas. So let's take a look at my finished cards. Again, the first one I used the Corrine markers for watercoloring, and my second one I just used Vintage Photo Distress ink to stamp with. My first one I matted on some craft and then on a A2 size card base, and my second one I just applied directly to the card base. This stamp set does have a sentiment, which you'll see in my finished photos. So I have some photos here of the finished cards. Here's a close-up of the first card. You can see that watercolor, how bright and vibrant it is. I used the sentiment from the Winter Cardinal stamp set from Blue Knight Rubber Stamps. It says Merry Christmas. I heat embossed it with gold embossing powder. Card number 2 is made with the Vintage Photo Distress ink, and it has the sentiment that came with the stamp set. I will sing to the Lord because he is good to me. Psalms 13, verse 6. And if you are interested in this stamp, now's the time to get it. Blue Knight Rubber Stamps is having a sale until the 13th, 25% off all stamps. For my second card on the sentiment, I cut it out and put on the edges some Vintage Photo Distress ink. I really like the sepia look of this card. And this is my third card. You didn't see me create it because the video would have been way too long for me to show you. But I used alcohol markers to color the stamp, including the church and the tree and all the details. And then I used an alcohol marker and colored the background in a light blue to represent the sky. And I stamped the sentiment above the church. And that's the sentiment that comes with the stamp set, but they're two separate stamps. So you can create the card with or without the sentiment. So if you have a soft spot for little country churches and you would like to have this stamp so that you can make a card, head on over to Blue Knight Rubber Stamps where they're having 25% off sale on all stamps till December 13th, 2020. That means you can get this stamp for 25% off. Thanks so much for watching my channel today. Please leave a comment, give a thumbs up if you don't mind, and if you're new, I hope you'll subscribe to my channel. Thanks everyone. Have a hopeful day. Bye-bye.